Reg Lascaris' book, Lessons from the Boot of a Car for Entrepreneurship and Life, is aimed at entrepreneurs who need the encouragement to get started, and it offers sage advice, keeping them on the right path. The author himself is with us in studio. Reg, I loved your book. I think anybody who's had a chance to read it will also. It is so inspiring, particularly for startups.
Yeah, I know. The whole idea was, it was the journey of my life and all the knocks I had and what happened along the way. So I thought I'd like to share that with everybody. Seeing I'm getting to a stage now where maybe I'll be moving on.
Not at all, but what brought this about, Reg?
As I said, it was a record of what I've done. And you know, when you start a business, it's not that easy, because where do you borrow the money? How do you fund it? What do you do? What skills have you got? And you know, it was a tough battle at the beginning, but eventually I managed to borrow some money from a friend and start the business. And because it was very little money, we had to start the business out of the boot of my very second-hand Toyota Corolla, because we couldn't invite people to our offices. So we used to say, no, no, no. New philosophy, we come to you. You don't come to us. None of this fancy office stuff. We come to you. And that's how we started. And then we slowly built the business.
And your family turned you down. They had to kick themselves.
Yeah, they didn't have the money to help. So anyway, but it's been a really enjoyable ride, and I hope I'm sharing a lot of the funny stories in the book as well as the lessons, because at the end of every chapter I try and write down what I learned.
Your top 3 key lessons learned?
Well, there's quite a few, but I think you've got to be passionate about what you do. You've got to be a tough-minded optimist, because in business you're going to knock your head so many times, you've just got to keep going. And I guess in the end, it's not so much about a strategy, because strategies are very fixed things. It's about a compass, because every now and again you have to change path, change direction. So don't write down a strategy and think that's it, because we're living in a very fast-moving world. And I guess the other one is that it's the big don't eat the small in business. It's the fast that eat the slow. So you've got to be nimble in this business. And I've got many other lessons as well, but there are a couple.
A journey, not a destination.
Exactly. Yeah, it is a journey, yeah.
You had some lovely stories. It's one of those books, Googs, and I know you haven't had a chance to read it because I got our copy, but it's one of those books that you can read in a weekend because it is really that interesting.
Yeah.
But tell us about the Rolls Royce.
Well, the benefactor who lent us the money at the time said, look, I'm going to invite you around for dinner one evening, and I'm going to introduce you to my very rich friends who got lots of businesses, and maybe they're going to give you some business. So I said, sure. A little nervously rocked up, and he put me next to one of his key guys. And you know how you start small talk in any conversation. So first question I asked him, foolishly, is what car do you drive? And he said, I drive a roller. So I said, so do I, because I thought he meant a Corolla.
Oh,
Toyota Corolla.
Yeah. So he said, what color is your roller? So I said, my roller is bright yellow. It's got a few dents, but it's bright yellow. He said, oh, you're kidding. So I said, no. So why is he so excited about my roller, my Corolla? Anyway, eventually he came out to look at my car and burst out laughing. So I've got a few anecdotes and a few stories in the book about silly things that I've done.
But
do you still have the car though?
No, that was a long time.
Yeah, what happened to the car?
Yeah.
It I got traded in on another second-hand car, but the car's got better.
The cover of your book
Yep.
is that very famous advert of BMW with the mouse.
Yeah.
Take us through where the creative for that came from.
Okay, what happened was BMW briefed us on a print ad, a small little quarter-page ad, because they were launching power steering in the new 3 Series. So we went back and we sat down and we thought, power steering, that's a new thing, because it was then. And we thought, how do you demonstrate power steering in a print ad? You can't. And we came up with this crazy idea of having a mouse on the steering wheel to show how light the steering wheel was. But we had to train a hell of a lot of mice. And we gave them all names. And eventually we chose Fred Astaire, because the one on the wheel was Fred Astaire. He was the best.
Tap dancing on the steering wheel, huh?
Yeah.
Lovely stuff.
But just on that, when you look at the advertising arena in South Africa at the moment, we know that certain advertising companies stand out, the likes of Nando's with their creativity. Are we creative enough? Are we reaching an evolution perhaps with regard to creativity in that sphere?
Well, I think we were very lucky because we started off with Nando's. Nando's was one of our first clients. And in the end, it's not so much about what we do, it's how brave we are, it's how brave the clients are. And Robbie Brosen was a very, very brave guy. And he used to say, frighten me. And we tried very hard. And I think we frightened them a few times. But I think we've got terrific creative people in this country. And I think if you look at the Cannes Awards, we're always in the top 10. And that's fighting far beyond our weight, you know. So I think we've got a lot of talent, and maybe it's because where we come from. We come from a very interesting society of lots of different ethnic people and lots of different nationalities, and there's a kind of spirit of creativity in this country, which is amazing.
Did you follow Nando's overseas? Did you do the offshore advertising?
No, but they took up the same positioning and everything because, you know, the positioning, funny enough, on Nando's was irreverence, just mock everything. And they do that in London, and they do that all over the world now, and they use local people to do that. We didn't help them there.
So it hasn't changed from that side?
No, it hasn't changed at all.
Reg, it's interesting talking as an entrepreneur, but also somebody who knows about marketing. Often entrepreneurs are not good marketers. How do you get the two together?
I think entrepreneurs actually are good marketers because a lot of it comes from the gut, and some of the best marketers I've ever come across are entrepreneurs. I mean, the likes of Robbie Bros and a lot of people I've met. It's kind of instinct. I think entrepreneurs are maybe not that good with people along the way because they've done it their way and they're not prepared to change, and you have to evolve and you have to change. But I think entrepreneurs are good marketers.
That's interesting. So if an entrepreneur's got an idea,
Yeah.
he should not defer to the advertising agency. He should maybe try and push it through.
No, I think you should work together with an advertising agency. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in business. I think if you work together, and entrepreneurs actually make good clients because they also listen and they debate and they discuss. But in the end, they're brave.
And the ad industry itself, its business model going forward, the 16.5%.
Yeah, that's all gone. We're all on fee-based stuff, and of course the industry is changing. It's gone very digital, and there's such a plethora of media everywhere. So it's how do you reach the consumer? And the biggest fundamental change is the consumer can talk back and talk back very fast. So they can make or break your brand, where before you used to dish it out, but you had no feedback. Now with Twitter and all these things, you're getting instant feedback. So you know exactly where you stand.